Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Thursday late morning edition of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Bo Wulf, Zach Berman, a little bit of a casual Thursday look for you, Zach. How you feeling? You've gone T-shirt today. This is a first.
Didn't expect that to be the start of the show. Doing great. Excited for the show. Didn't see you yesterday.
You look great.
Nice of you to say. Have a button down in the car, but kept the T-shirt.
Why was the backseat too crowded to change?
Backseat was not too crowded to change. No, I had to give blood this morning, so I couldn't have long sleeves on.
All right. Are you like universal donor, or what do we got?
No, we don't have to get into the specifics of the.
You were too afraid to give your blood type.
So, anyways, I brought the button down, the change in the car, but I'm like,
it's got to be something positive because you're such a positive person.
Oh, I appreciate that, and I'm positive we're going to have a good show today.
Okay.
Although when I said that to you before, you pushed back at me. You said I jinxed it. You're a little stitious. So,
what's that from, Zach?
That's from The Office.
It's not from The Office. It's a thing that people have been saying for decades. It's not from The Office.
It was popularized on The Office.
If you said, "What's that from?"
If you ask Kirk Cousins, "What's that from?" he would say The Office.
Yeah, I don't ask Kirk Cousins anything.
Okay.
You know, if you ask him how to cook your meat, doesn't mean he's going to do it well.
Well, he actually might do it well.
No, it's proven that he won't.
He's more of a rare guy. Okay.
No, he's like a brick, unseasoned guy.
Well, that's what I just said. He'll do it well.
Oh, you know what? That's pretty good.
Thank you, Bo.
That's pretty good, Zach.
Yeah, you didn't even acknowledge the joke. Yes.
Well, it's hard to tell when you're joking sometimes. Okay.
I'm serious about that.
I didn't see you yesterday, but you know who I did see? I was waiting online. I'm going to the Phillies game last night with shout out to Gabe, DFOP Gabe, and I get in line, and like 2 spots ahead of me, I see Jamie and Tyler getting ready to go into the game.
Okay.
What kismet! So I got to wait in line with them on the way in. What an atmosphere!
Yeah, tell me about it. I had it on while I was doing work in the background. Tell me about the game. I obviously saw everything, but you were there. You saw the
what do you
atmosphere.
want me to say? Like, you know what happened in the game?
No, the atmosphere. I'm saying.
It was fantastic. You saw it on TV. It was great.
I didn't live it. I mean, I wasn't there. I didn't have.
And unfortunately, you'll never have been there.
45,000 of my closest friends.
I can't just give you my memories from my brain. It was awesome.
What was
Great
your
atmosphere.
percentage of sitting versus standing?
Good question. I would say about like 88% standing.
Okay, 88% standing. Okay. Good section, like
great section, and
engaged fans.
We were also right underneath a TV that was like I would say 3/4 of a second behind. So if you went quickly, you could see the K zone where the pitch was. That was nice.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, good time.
Look cold in here, by the way. I don't know if I'm gonna go T-shirt. I went on to I went on to allphly.com.
What are you worried about? Are you worried about a little nip poking through?
Oh no, I thought this would be a good.
It is warm outside.
No, I thought this would be a good organic transition here.
Okay.
I wanted to say something, but you had to make the awkward joke.
Well, now you're going back to it. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was thinking it was warm out yesterday, which it was. Okay, I was at practice and I was sweating, and then so I was going to bring that up to the game, and then I thought it is a little chilly in here. Mm-hmm. I was on allphly.com. I clicked on the PHLY locker, the merch section, and I got some PHLY merch that I'm going to be wearing on the show at some point when it arrives. So I was saying that if you're going to Phillies games in these next few weeks, you can check out allphly.com, and you can get PHLY merch, you can get Phillies type merch. Yeah.
Lots of good stuff on there.
There you go.
What a pull from Bree, just throwing
Great
it up
job
there.
by Bree.
Fantastic. All right, Zach, we do have a lot to get to. We're going to have our weekly draft of the rosters between the Rams and the Eagles, but there's plenty to get to news-wise from yesterday. Full day at the NovaCare Complex. You heard from Jalen Hurts, Jason Kelce, Sua Opeta, Nick Sirianni. What were the big takeaways for you? And the Eagles have a new player in the secondary since we last spoke.
Exactly. So let's back up to Tuesday night at this point, or Tuesday afternoon. The Eagles set in the motion to add Bradley Roby to the practice squad.
Which you called. Good job by you.
They made it official yesterday, which I called.
You mentioned Bradley Roby a couple weeks ago as him being on the street as a nickel option.
Yes. Yeah. Like Bradley Roby in the 2013 or 2014 draft. I believe it was 2014
It was the Marcus Smith draft. Yes, there's always
draft.
been like he could have been the pick if not for Marcus Smith.
Yep, exactly. So Bradley Roby, who 31 years old, has played inside, outside. This was obviously done to get him at slot corner and then move James Bradberry over to the outside. He officially joined the practice squad yesterday, was on the field, number 33, taking over Josiah Scott's number.
Wow.
Okay.
Pour one out.
Josiah Scott's number is not retired by the Eagles. You really sold that one, Bill.
What do you want me to do? Fake an uproarious laugh?
Yeah, that's what you. Yes, exactly. Pretend you're by a player's locker.
I try to be honest and real with our valued listeners.
As an aside,
okay?
by
If you
the
make
way,
me laugh, I will laugh.
That's very much like a sports media pet peeve I have is like when a player says something that's like not even that funny and everyone acts like it's Jerry Seinfeld on Friday night. Yeah. So,
you gonna be sitting front row?
I'm not. I'm a little tied up with work. I'm not going this week. But I would have, and I would have gotten the tickets on GameTime, which we'll get to later. So
well, maybe your work plans will change, and you'll be able to do it last minute.
So, so Bradley Roby comes in, and he needs to get into kind of the acceptable shape. They have a few weeks here with him on practice squad. I imagine he'll be elevated not just to the 53-man roster, like for game day, but eventually take a roster spot. But as long as he looks the way they expect. But I see him being the slot corner, and that's a big development because as we spoke about on Tuesday's show and a bit on Monday, James Bradberry, I don't think they're maximizing him when he's in the slot. And I did like the idea of putting Sidney Brown there, but I think that if you can get someone who has experience, right? I mean, last year in New Orleans, he played a lot of the slot. Early in his career in Denver, he played a lot of the slot. I think it just makes a lot of sense. And
he was with the Saints for all of training camp. So it's not like he's a guy. This is not like a Dominican Sue, Linval Joseph situation where they were just on the street. He was playing as recently as 5 weeks ago or whatever that was. To me, this makes sense. I think you do want to sort of see your options. And timing-wise, let's get a look at Bradley Roby, see if we think he can do it before the trade deadline, and if not, there's still some time to get an actual guy who could be the answer.
Very good point. And he spoke yesterday about wanting to be part of this defense with Slay and Bradberry. He likes the idea of playing with elite guys. He compared Philly to a college town. He said just the excitement that he's seen on social media since his signing was announced. And he's a steady veteran, right? He's been around. He's won a Super Bowl. So, again, 31 years old at that position. I don't love the fact that the Eagles would have 3 30-plus-year-old guys out there at corner. But if they all fit their role, like excel in their role, then you're good with it.
This has only just occurred to me, Zach, but if you tried to combine Bradberry and Slay, you might get Bradley. And you've got Bradley Roby.
Yeah, I'm not selling that one.
I think that this is like the key to the whole situation. You feel like Howie makes his transactions that way?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Now, do you think that Roby, there's a chance that he'll be up this week?
Yes, I do. And again, a limited practice time. This is a week where you really need to feel good about your slot corners, as we'll get to.
Yes. And your communication in the defensive backfield.
So I think him being a veteran. And unless the alternative Sidney Brown, who's back at practice, right? But
fully him and Evans.
Yeah. So here you go. I'll give Sidney Brown was limited, I should say, but he's back on the field, which is a positive sign. Justin Evans full, has that neck injury. Quez Watkins full. You'll see them both on Sunday. Limited Sidney Brown did not practice, and these are the key ones. Britton Covey with a concussion, Fletcher Cox with a back injury, Cam Jurgens with a foot injury, and Marlon Tuipulotu with the triceps injury. Defensive tackles, important position to watch, of course. Fletcher Cox, according to the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, had an epidural.
An epidural, yeah.
Yeah, and if he misses time, it'll be one game. but this is worth watching. Fletcher Cox, as Baldy pointed out when we had him on the show Tuesday, remarkably durable. Hasn't missed a non-season finale game since the 2017 season. And I say non-season finale because they, sacked guys, and
sure.
then in 2020 they just didn't care about that last game, so we don't even know who was injured and who just get on with your offseason. But those are the big injuries to watch. Obviously, with Cox and Marlon T not practicing, defensive tackles in the spotlight. We mentioned Cam Jurgens on Tuesday's show and Monday's show, and that will be Sua Opeta there at right guard.
Quickly on the Cox thing, I know that Sean Desai talked about this, but it's a little bit interesting that he's playing such a high percentage of the snaps when they knew that he must have been dealing with this injury, right?
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Well, it's a good question. I've been wondering about Fletcher Cox's playing time throughout the season, and I just think I think there's two elements to this. I think number one, he's playing well. He's
playing very well.
Yeah, he's so versatile in that he's been a 3-down guy throughout his career, right? You trust him. And then the second thing is, and I was joking about this with someone in the building yesterday, he kind of has like a Jason Peters element to him now,
right?
Where it's like who wants to tell him to get off the field?
Exactly.
Yeah, is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
But also, he knows he's dealing with this injury. You would think that he would want to have the long term in mind. That said, Zach, I was going to get to this in our draft, but in the the old Kapadia pass rush index, right? Sacks and quarterback hits, because pressures are so subjective. We like to deal with the actual things that we know happened. Sacks and quarterback hits divided by pass rush snaps. Who do you think is the number one most productive pass rushing defensive tackle in the league through 4 games?
Khalil Mack.
Defensive tackle.
Oh, I'm sorry. Defensive tackle. I'm sorry. I was thinking pass rush.
That's okay.
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald is number 5. Number 1 is Fletcher Cox.
Okay. I should have just said it because you were asking me the question. But I was trying. I didn't know if you were
number
doing a
1
game
in the
theory
league.
there. Number 1. I'm not surprised.
So no wonder he doesn't want to come off the field. He's trying to bank. He's trying to bank these stats.
He's a free agent at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, that's true.
He's a lot of P. Rowe's Cajun mud bugs.
A lot of what?
P. Rowe's Cajun mud bugs. If you ever make it to Yazoo City, Mississippi,
oh yeah, boy.
All right, and you want some good crawfish, the place that Fletcher
I thought you were
recommends
having a stroke for a second there.
Is P. Rowe's. You could check that out. I believe it's on Helly Barber Boulevard in Yazoo City, Mississippi.
There you go. I would
We
imagine
just
that
gave them free advertising.
Kenny Gainwell's been there at some point.
For our Yazoo City audience, you're welcome.
Okay, so that's the Cox thing.
Yeah.
Sua Opeta, we feel like this is not obfuscation. He's definitely going to be the starting right guard.
Yeah, he's the starting right guard. Like, the team's not even being clandestine about it.
Yeah.
On their website yesterday, they had Sua Opeta ready for right guard. Asking I asked Brian Johnson about it. Asked Nick Sirianni about it. Talked about it in the locker room. He's the right guard, which, as we spoke about, surprised me a bit because Steen and Driscoll. Steen was the top option as a reserve during camp. Driscoll's played there, although he played more tackle during camp. Sua Opeta played more at a left guard during training camp than a right guard. He said yesterday that he's been playing left guard and right guard kind of in practice this season, so he has more right guard experience this year than he's had in past years. 2 can you name? Are we still doing that, or can I just say can you name? The last start he had at right guard.
At right guard?
Yes.
Is this related to was it against the Rams?
No.
Okay. Was it a Giants game?
No.
I don't know. I can't name it.
It was Tampa Bay playoff game. He started at right guard.
Oh.
Yes.
Who was out?
Well, Brandon Brooks was out for the season
whole
at that
season.
point. And then...
Oh, they had moved Dickerson from right to left.
Yes, at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good for Sua. Let's see. What else? Who do you think will be the backup center?
Landon Dickerson. Landon Dickerson was taking snaps at yesterday's practice. And, he'll be the backup. I'm guessing he'll be the backup center.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to bring anyone up from the practice squad.
And you said that Sidney Brown was limited, but you feel like Justin Evans will be ready to go as the starter.
Yeah, well, I think Justin Evans is going to be ready to go. Whether he's the starter or not depends on if you think Sidney Brown will push him. I don't think it's going to be Terrell Edmonds, but yeah, I'm guessing Justin Evans.
Yeah, I would guess Justin Evans. And then last one, Quez Watkins.
He'll be back. Full participant in practice.
Who do you think plays more snaps, him or Olamide Zaccheaus?
I think Quez, but I don't think it's as pronounced as it would have been week 1.
I think it might be Zaccheaus.
He might be an OZ?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it might be. All right. Well, before we get to the draft, Zach, let's talk about DraftKings.
Ah, good transition.
Things are heating up at the ballpark. With DraftKings Sportsbook, you won't miss a moment of the baseball action. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on baseball. Plus, all customers can take a crack at a sweet payday with DraftKings same-game parlays. String together multiple bets from a single game for your shot at a major payout. So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code PHLY. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on baseball only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHLY. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles in Louisiana, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See dkng.com/baseball for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
Are you practicing that at home?
No, but I mean, 5 times a week I'm practicing it.
Yeah, you're doing great at that. I'm impressed. Real quick.
That one might have been my best one so far.
I mean, you've consistently done it well, but I would agree. And for all prospective advertisers who hear how effective you are getting that read, we always do when we do the DraftKings ad on Thursdays. When I say we always do, we're like 4 weeks in here. We look at the Thursday night game, okay? You obviously saw Washington play last week, okay? What are you thinking here? Let me pull up this.
Is it at Washington or at Chicago?
It's at Washington. The Commanders are 6-point favorites.
6-point favorites.
Over the Bears. 44.5 is the over-under. Washington is minus 265. You going with the dogs?
I think I like the Bears to cover, but the Commanders to win, which is the classic
That's the classic Zach move. Yeah. I'm going with Chicago +6 in that one. I think the Bears, they showed some life against Denver last week. They did not win the game.
Yeah, what a brutal thing. They've
had some weird things going on in that organization. I think that's going to be an interesting prospective head coaching job this offseason. But I think I'm going Bears +6 tonight.
Okay, I like that.
And then before we get to our draft too,
please.
I'm sorry, you're the host, but I'm speaking over you here.
It's your show too.
I know we're going to talk about Aaron Donald, but I did want to ask you this here before, so it doesn't disrupt the draft. I put this out on Twitter yesterday. You said you didn't see the answer, so I'm putting you on the spot. Yeah. Okay, so this is an interesting piece of trivia. The Eagles are one of 2 teams in the NFL that Aaron Donald does not have a sack against, the Eagles and the New York Jets. He's only played the Jets twice. He's played the Eagles 4 times.
4 times.
2014 as a rookie.
Okay, don't remember that.
2017, 2018, both those games in LA, and then the 2020 COVID year, that week 2 or 3 game here in Philly. Okay?
Oh, yes.
So the games in 2017, 2018, as we discussed with Baldy the other day, it was Jason Kelce and Brandon Brooks at center right guard. Okay? That helped that helped the Eagles keep Nick Foles clean in both those games.
Right.
Well, Carson Wentz in the first one wasn't totally clean, but not because of Brooks and Kelce, or not because of Donald, I should say. So here you go. Who was the starting right guard in the 2020 game, and who was the starting center in the 2014 game?
Well, the starting center in the 2014 game. Was it David Molk?
Boom. Good job.
Okay.
When I brought that up in the media house yesterday, no one got that answer.
Really?
Yeah, I heard some Dallas Reynolds. I heard some Nicole. I did not hear David Molk. Good work on David Molk.
Did you read his book?
Well, we don't know if that's his book, but I did
read
read Johnny
book?
Anonymous. Yes,
Okay.
I did read it.
And then 2020 right guard. Early in the season, was it Herbig?
Yes. Boom. No one knows reserve offensive linemen like Bo
Wow.
Wulf. Bree's giving you the round of applause. Thank you, Bree.
I do think that we undersell what an unbelievable undrafted class of offensive linemen that was.
2019?
Sua Opeta,
Yeah.
Nate Herbig, and Ryan Bates. Three starting caliber offensive linemen.
I think it's amazing that Sua Opeta is here in year 5.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's been...
It's really incredible longevity.
Exactly. And Jason Kelce, he had a quote yesterday. I'm going to butcher the quote. I should have written it down. But he's basically like, a lot of times guys just don't have like the ability to hang around, but they end up playing, right?
Right.
And he's like, he has the ability. He just hasn't played.
Right. And he's gotten some action here and there. And there have been times when he's been off the roster and on the practice squad and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the thing that holds him back a little bit is like he really is only a guard.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really play. He played tackle in college, but he doesn't play tackle. He doesn't really play center. But I think he's quality. And I remember that summer, I wanted to do a story on that class. Of course I did. I wanted to do a story on that undrafted class.
An esoteric story.
And I was talking to Kelce, and he's like, they're pretty impressive. And there's one guy who's like, he's like really, really talented. And I was like, is it Sua? He's like, he wouldn't say. So like, could have been Herbig in his mind, but now Herbig was much younger. Herbig was like a 21-year-old, whereas Sua was a 24-year-old. But I've always thought that Sua's power really pops.
Yeah, and that's the book on him is his strength. His combine testing or his pre-draft testing was like notable in terms of his strength. Players have said that. Nick Sirianni pointed out that strength yesterday. He's gonna have a tough assignment this week.
I'd love to do. What do you think would be Howie Roseman's amenability to just like a sit down, whether it's an interview or a story, and just going over like 6 of the most esoteric trades of his career? Like, let's get into the Ryan Bates Eli Harold trade. Okay. Let's get into the Bruce Hector for Rudy Ford trade.
Okay.
Like, what I think the best trade that's ever been made in the NFL.
Oh, Duke Riley, Jonathan Cyprien.
Duke Riley, Jonathan Cyprien. I think you think you'd have some fun with that.
Maybe not the Ryan Bates one. But
Well, you got to give something to get something.
yeah, I think the ones that he likes, the ones that he's proud of, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
I once did a story on his pretty early on before I was on the beat for the. I did a story for the New York Times in
Big flex.
In April 2020, in April 2012, on his propensity for trading. I was proud of that story.
Okay. Any particular insight?
A lot of particular insight. This was before there was like a lot of attention paid to his trades, right? It was his, at that point, 3rd year as the GM.
Well, there was that draft when he made a bunch of trades.
Yeah, this was about player trades.
Okay.
And his whole point, because I remember I spoke to John Schneider, the Seahawks GM, because they had just done the Darryl Tapp for Chris Clemens trade.
Sure.
I spoke to a few agents who were involved in that. Howie was kind of talking then about kind of this new wave of GMs, right? Number one, but then number two, that the reason why player for player trades are different in the NFL than in other sports. He gave the comparison that a third baseman can go from the Yankees to the Phillies and still play third base, right? Not much changes, but a edge rusher can go from one team to another team, and it's like totally different in terms of how they're used, what the language is. And he said that's why there were fewer player for player trades.
Sure. I think that has changed over the course of the past decade, though. Yeah.
That story was 11 years ago now.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
All right. You ready for rock, paper, scissors to start this off?
I wasn't preparing my rock, paper, scissors strategy, but sure.
Okay. Let's do it. Ready?
I remember what got me wrong, what I did poorly with last time. So.
I don't remember.
Of course you don't.
Okay.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Your
Boom.
scissors beats my paper.
Yep.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Tie on paper. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. My rock beats your scissors. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Your paper beats my rock. You get the first pick. You've now won 2 out of 3 of the rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, but you know what? This is a tough week.
This is a tough week.
I think like of all weeks, I might want the 2-3 this week.
I think you could make that case. Yeah.
You know?
But I did not tank.
Hold on one second. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
Need to make sure it wasn't
Jeffrey?
it wasn't Jeffrey. No.
Okay.
Okay. So here we go. With the
Yeah, this is interesting. If we unpack it a little bit, this is the first time we've had an even quarterback, even-ish quarterback matchup. You could go offensive line. You could go some places on defense. I'm curious to see what you do. Or you could take the quarterback.
Or I could take the quarterback. So, for the, you know what? And you can't box me in at quarterback, correct? You can't like take two quarterbacks.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. I think for the first time, the quarterback will not be the number one pick.
Okay.
And that's not to take anything away from Jalen Hurts, but if I don't end up with, if you take Hurts 2 or 3, then I'm okay with the the other one here. And Aaron Donald is one of the great players in NFL history. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a game-wrecking player. He affects everything that you do. He does not have a sack against the Eagles in his career. But I think I'm going to go with Aaron Donald as my top overall pick in this game.
Interesting. Good for you.
Okay.
I think there's a good case to be made that he's the best player in the game. He is a little bit more productive this year than he was the last 2 years. He is fifth on that list of defensive tackles behind Fletcher Cox.
Okay. We don't know if Fletcher Cox is going to play.
We don't know if Fletcher Cox is going to play. I think there is enough depth at defensive tackle that I don't know that I would have done that there, but I would have considered it. I think it's a fair.
I'm also trying to mix up the game a bit.
Mix up the game a little bit, yeah.
That's part of it too. We do this every week, and I don't want it to just be sticking to the script every week.
I think that's worthwhile.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to shake things up.
The other places you
in
could
life
go,
as well.
Wide receiver. Okay. More mistress talk from Zach. You could, the Puka Nakua emergence has.
At number one?
I'm saying,
give you storylines.
No, I'm saying that has made it so you don't necessarily have to. There's not a huge delta at wide receiver.
You're right.
Necessarily.
Okay. I thought you were talking about my number one possibilities.
No. Okay. But I am going to counter with, I think this has been the 2-3 tandem each of the first 3 weeks. I'm going to do it again. I am going to take Lane Johnson and Jason Kelce because I think there's a big difference between the heart of this offensive line than what the Rams have up front.
Okay. So I mean, I'm compelled to go quarterback here, but I'm also afraid that if I go quarterback, then you fill out the offensive line and I'm in a tough spot. So I am going to take Jordan Mailata here just to make sure that I have a left tackle.
Okay, I think that's reasonable. Mm-hmm. In that case, I want to make sure I get 2 of the top 3 here. So I'm going to take AJ Brown.
Okay. So there's Devontae Smith and Cooper Kupp, and
now, do we think Cooper Kupp is going to play?
I do think Cooper Kupp's going to play. According to Diana Rossini from The Athletic, he's pushing to play. They started his practice window, and that's obviously a big development in him and Puka together. As Jordan Rodriguez from The Athletic pointed out, they can go back to their 11 and a half personnel, which is kind of like a hybrid between 11 and 12.
Okay, so they are back to now without Cooper Kupp, but they are back to playing that super heavy percentage of 11 compared to last year when they were a little bit away from it.
So, you know what? I can go Dickerson here. Okay.
Keep the best friends together on the left side.
And last week my offensive line was an undoing. I could go wide receiver here. I can go Kupp or Devontae. My concern though is I'm not just playing the board. I'm playing you, and so you considering the fact that you have 2 All-Pro offensive linemen, I want to make sure that I have 2 Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen. I consider Mailata and Dickerson Pro Bowl caliber offensive linemen. I don't know if I know Kevin Dotson's been playing decently for the Rams, and Steve Avila was their third round pick or their second round pick. But nonetheless, I'm going to go with Landon Dickerson here.
Interesting. Okay. The Fletcher Cox injury is a factor here, and it makes me consider going defensive tackle. But I actually think the biggest difference between these teams on defense is the Eagles' power on the edge.
Okay.
And so I consider going wide receiver here. It's interesting. We're both leaving quarterback untouched at this point. But I'm going to go ahead and take Josh Sweat ahead of Hassan Reddick.
Okay.
Right now, the way that they're playing, I'm going to take Josh Sweat for my first defensive player.
That's a good way to go because it's probably the way I should have thought because I have 5 edge rushers on this list, and the first 3 are Eagles guys. I don't like either one of these Rams edge rushers too much at this point. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take Hassan Reddick just to make sure that I'm getting to the quarterback some. And Hassan Reddick he had a sack last week. Sacks come in waves, like he said. And I think this is the start of a wave.
Yeah, I know, but I'd like to actually see if that's true. This is like a thing that Nick Sirianni says and Hassan Reddick says. And yeah, like some guys have big games, but I feel like this is one of those things where just because they say it doesn't mean that we have to take it at face value.
Well, if you just look at Hassan Reddick's numbers last year, it bears it out. Josh Sweat's numbers bear it out. The sacks came in bunches, right? So,
but they also, they had 70 sacks.
They had a high volume of sacks. That is correct. Sacks come in waves. It's one of those things like, yeah.
No.
So
you can just say that that's true.
So back in the day, I used to do TV every week. Okay. Down that way.
No, every time.
That way, south. Okay, I did TV every week, and some of it was Eagles, but I also had to do Sixers and Phillies and Flyers. And Sixers and Phillies, I can talk all day about. Villanova basketball, Big 5 basketball, I could talk all day about. Flyers wasn't as adept at talking.
So
Flyers.
what you say, like goals come in bunches?
So what I did is I would consume a lot of Flyers coverage, right, to give me kind of like a baseline understanding of it. But then the other thing I would do is I would watch and listen, and I would just get certain expressions that they say, right?
Tickles the twine.
I wasn't going to say that, just like like crowding the net or like blue line to blue line, stuff like that, and
fake until you make it. I
would kind of infiltrate these these expressions, the jargon, if you will, and I would say that, and I would try to just come off as like I know a little bit of what I'm talking about. So if you ever want to talk about pass rushing and you don't kind of know, you can just say sacks come in bunches.
Here's the thing about sacks is they come in waves.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Zach, before we get to the next pick, let's talk a little bit about GameTime because buying tickets to your favorite events like Jerry Seinfeld on Friday night, if you're Zach. If your plans happen to open up, that shouldn't be stressful. GameTime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. There's flash deals and last-minute tickets. Easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, all that good stuff. Plus, it is the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
And just so you guys know that we're not just reading these ads, we're living this, is that if I pulled out my phone right now and I could show you the GameTime app, I put in my PHLY code.
Yeah, me too.
And I look at various tickets to see kind of, I like seeing other markets to see what the what the appeal of the Eagles is there. I'm going next weekend to a Penn State game. I like checking out those tickets. So yeah, I'm all over the GameTime app.
I'm going to take Devontae Smith
Okay.
because I don't necessarily know that Cooper Kupp is going to be active for this game, and I think there's a chance this means I'm going to outflank you on the outside. I take him over Nachua. Is it Nachua or Nakua?
I think it's Nakua.
It is Nakua. Okay. It's only been 4 games. I'm not disrespecting
Was that Chris who helped
him,
us out there?
But I'm taking
Shout out to Chris.
Devontae Smith.
Okay, shout out to Chris.
Chris says that so far that we are both going to script and taking similar players as last week.
Okay, so then I need to get a wide receiver here, and I'm going to get the only wide receiver in this group who's been the Super Bowl MVP, and that is Cooper
Quez
Kupp.
Watkins.
That is that's Cooper Kupp. I remember covering the Senior Bowl that he was at, 2017.
Yeah. Is there a second beat to that story?
I liked him in that.
Okay.
He wasn't playing on the red turf anymore. I had watched him a bit on that red turf at Eastern Washington, and thought Cooper Kupp could play there. He was represented at the time, or still is, I imagine, by the same agency as Carson Wentz. And so it was very much like on my radar, who are the guys represented by Carson Wentz's agency. And they ended up taking a few of them, Matt Collins, for instance,
Yes.
from North Carolina.
Right.
But they did not take Cooper Kupp.
I'm going to take Nakua in that case. So now I have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Puka Nakua. You have Cooper Kupp, who may not play, and that's where that stands. Nakua is interesting. And you asked me earlier in the week where he was in the the buckets, and he's in the worst bucket. He was neither fast, nor productive, nor old or nor young. Right? He was an older player who was not super productive and didn't run fast. And it's funny because the Rams also took Van Jefferson, who was in that bucket. And there have only been 3 guys who were in that bucket who were drafted in the first 2 rounds over the past 10 years. They've all been bad. Van Jefferson, Greg Little, and Mohamed Massaquoi are the 3 guys. And there have only been 3 late-round hits, guys who have had at least 1,000-yard season. Hunter Renfrow, Tyrell Williams, and Doug Baldwin. So, Doug Baldwin is the guy that you sort of hope he turns into. But boy, has he been super productive so far.
I'm sure you've watched the tape. What jumps out about the way he's playing?
Well, it's hard for me right now to decide whether it's this is the main guy in the scheme and the scheme is being very impressive versus him being very impressive. I don't mean to denigrate him. He's been awesome. He's second in the league to Justin Jefferson in receiving yards, 6th in yards per route run. But I do sort of think of that offense. We were having this discussion outside earlier. I think the Eagles' offense is a player's offense, right? Yeah. Jalen Hurts is in charge of making these decisions, and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert need to win their individual matchups. Whereas that Rams offense, I do think of as a scheme offense. Yes. And I think that they are finding interesting ways to get him open, not to discredit him. I'm excited to have him on my team, but it's only been 4 games, and so I don't have any grand opinions on him yet.
No, that's a really good point, and it's something I hate to say we don't have more time to talk about it because we do a lot of shows, but it's something I've discussed during the offseason that Nick Sirianni doesn't get enough credit for because he's not the play caller, and I think he's just a really good leader and manager of the Eagles team. But if you talked about the stars of the Eagles or the faces of the Eagles, I don't think you would say Nick Sirianni is a face of the Eagles right now, right? You would talk about Jalen Hurts. You would talk about
probably so.
Talk about AJ, Devontae, some of the great, Jason Kelce, of course, right? If you said who's the face of the Rams, I think the first name would be Sean McVay before Aaron Donald, before Matthew Stafford, before Cooper Kupp. I think that team's associated with it's similar to Bill Belichick in New England right now, right? You think of the Patriots, you think of Belichick. You think of the Rams, like you said, it's a scheme-centric offense. I think everything is about the head coach there, whereas I think this is more of a player's, you said it's a player's offense, and we associate, and I should say the public associates the players more in Philly, and McVay is kind of the star with the Rams.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Which is unfair to Sirianni because I think he's a really good coach.
Also, maybe unfair to Aaron Donald, but
that too.
yeah.
Yes.
All right, you're up.
Okay, so I need pass catchers here. I'm not gonna push a wide receiver up my board for the first time. For the first time in the weeks we've done this, Dallas Goedert, come on the team, Zach. Okay, maybe this is where Dallas Goedert gets to change his fortunes. If you go to allphly.com, I have a notebook out that I wrote. It appeared yesterday, and I think there's a lot of good notes and numbers in there. One thing I wanted to look at was Dallas Goedert's lack of production this year, and we spoke to Baldy about it. We spoke about it. The thing that jumped out to me is it's not like he's being targeted less, right? Or that much less. Like, it's not so pronounced in terms of the numbers. The receptions or the percentage of targets per route run is comparable. The big difference is yards after the catch. And one thing, I spoke to Dallas about this because I didn't just want to talk about it. I wanted to make sure that...
Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah. And one thing Dallas said is just kind of the way they've been playing. He's been catching the ball with his back to the defense more than he did it a year ago. We spoke last year, and Shil Kapadi of The Ringer used to always bring this up on his show as well, that when they got past midfield, it was like clockwork. They would throw that tight end screen to Dallas Goedert, and it would pick up these big chunk yards. They're not doing that this year. It's a part of the offense that I think they should get back. Dallas Goedert's really good without the ball in his hands. I'm trying to get the exact numbers here, which I am pulling up, and I am obviously stalling right now as I pull this up.
Dallas Goedert right now is 31st out of 35 tight ends in yards per route run.
So
it is crazy how unproductive he is right now.
In the first 4 games of the 2023 season, he has 28 yards after the catch. In his first 4 games of the 2022 season, he had 204 yards after the catch. Think about that difference.
And that's also, it's not just last season. That has been his superpower as a receiver over the past 3 years. And so I don't know if it is a function of just the routes that he's running or if there's something that's changed with him. I tend to lean more towards the way that he's being used in the offense is the big change here because he doesn't look less physical or athletic to me at this point.
Good point. I agree with you, and I think they need to unlock Dallas Goedert. And of all weeks to do it the week that he's on my team in this game.
There you go. I'm going to go ahead and take the best player on the board, at least non-quarterback position. Give me Jalen Carter, who has just been so dynamic, and I'm happy about that.
So I am ready to take the plunge, and I'm going to go with Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
So I
don't focus on getting married. Focus on being married.
And I'm going to do this because I obviously don't have the same wide receiver core.
No, I just get Matthew Stafford.
You get Matthew Stafford. I don't have the same wide receiver core. I'm going to need some of this QB run game. Jalen Hurts spoke yesterday about what we talked about on the show the other day about the QB run game, and he said he just hasn't had as many opportunities to kind of bust out those explosive plays, but he doesn't think he's playing any differently. He is obviously protecting himself, as we discussed on the show. But give me this, if I have Jalen Hurts with Cooper Kupp and Dallas Goedert and Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson, I feel I have the foundation for a solid offense here, in addition to, of course, Aaron Donald and Hassan Reddick on defense.
What is your general Matthew Stafford take these days? I'll give you some of the stats that I have here. Through 4 games, he is 8th in EPA per dropback, 9th in success rate, 8th in air yards per attempt at about 8.7, 11th in how quickly he's getting rid of the ball. There's a chance for some negative plays. He's 27th in completion percentage. He has 5 interceptions on the year, but that's also a little bit weighted because he has thrown more passes than any other quarterback in the league. That's the new sounder we have for wow, what a good stat that was.
Yes. Well, wow, what a good stat that was. I've long been a Stafford guy ever since he was at Georgia.
Okay.
Like in their high pick.
You like the number 1 overall pick. That's good.
Kind of agree with what Darius Slay has said, that he was underrated for a long time when he was with the Lions. I think he kind of like is on the other side now, that he might be a little bit overrated, but he can still make, Baldy said it the other day, he still makes throws that are just awesome.
Really, yeah. I don't love to be the one to say high level throws. Like I'm the guy who knows that, but yeah, he makes some real throws that open your eyes. That pop.
Yeah. So like Stafford, and really like him with the group you have of AJ, Devontae, and Puka.
Yeah, that feels pretty good.
And then he has obviously a good center and right tackle with him, but I mean, we'll see how he does with Aaron Donald in his face, right?
Sure.
So,
yeah, it's a good question. What am I going to do in the interior of my offensive line? But before I address that, I guess I'm a little bit worried about this Fletcher Cox injury. I don't know if he's going to play. Do you think he's going? Well, I'll let you decide that if you draft him. But because of that, I'm going to take Jordan Davis, who I actually think has been a little bit quieter over the past 2 games, especially the last game against Washington. I thought that was a little bit of a standout that I thought that they got more pressure than we gave them credit for, and Sam Howell just made some nice plays. But I thought that the pop in the first 2 weeks of Jordan Davis has really become an impact pass rusher we haven't really seen the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and he curiously wasn't on the field as much early in the game as I expected to see. But I've been on record saying I like Jordan Davis as a player, and I still stand by that.
Sure.
So you mentioned earlier in the game that you saw a big delta at edge rusher. The other position where I saw a big delta was at corner.
Yeah, I think this is a good pick.
And so I'm going Darius Slay here, who
I do think, to be fair, is coming off his worst game.
Yes,
we talked about it earlier in the week.
But he's been consistent. He always likes these big matchups. He's going to have a big matchup against A.J. Brown, who he sees every day in our fictional game.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel comfortable having Darius Slay on my team here. So Darius Slay it is.
I'm gonna then answer by taking James Bradbury, and I can play him at his natural position on the outside, and I feel pretty good about that.
Okay. And it's interesting how that's worked out, because earlier in the year I took Bradbury before Slay.
Well, you've always been a Bradbury guy.
Yes. I like Slay too. Always enjoy talking to Slay. Don't call him Darius, right?
That's right.
So I don't need to take a wide receiver. I could go corner here for my second corner. Akua Witherspoon and Darian Kendrick are their other 2 starters, correct?
On the outside, yeah.
On the outside. Linebacker, don't need to take there. Defensive line, do I go Milton Williams here? Or do I go...
I guess that means you don't
Bobby
think Fletcher
Brown.
Cox is going to play.
Oh, okay. Fletcher Cox is... Yeah, because you took Jalen Carter. Okay, no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take Fletcher Cox. Because part of this is like the way it looks when this first comes out, right?
You're just playing the poll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. I'm trying to win the press conference, right?
Okay.
I mean, who has time to worry about what the coach looks like 3-4 years down the line?
Right.
What I'm trying to do is when that poll comes on, and you could, and by the way, make sure you're following all our social accounts. The PHLY _sports, PHLY _Eagles. Make sure you check all those out.
And
also,
you're subscribing to the YouTube channel. And
I was going to say that I was listening out in Colorado to our Sixers podcast. Bodner and Newbeck doing a good job out there. Newbeck and Bodner, however you want to, both of them. And
Nooner and Bodnek.
And they, per Derek Gunn, Cox is out this week. D Gunn knows his stuff.
Oh, too late. That's all right. You have your flex spot that you can fix that with.
But they kept saying pound the like and subscribe. So please pound the like and subscribe.
Okay. I am going to go ahead and take. I don't feel 100% confident that he's the best of these 2 options, but I am going to take Mr. Forearm himself, Reed Blankenship, as the safety here. I think there's a top 2 at safety with these rosters, so I want to make sure I get one of those 2. Give me Reed White. What do they call him? I know there's the milk check, but didn't they
Call him Ghost.
Ghost? Yeah,
Yes.
Give me Ghost.
Yes, Ghost. So then I will take Jordan Fuller, to make sure that I have the other safety here.
Now, there's a lot of talk in the chat. It seems like about how we're deciding the winner here. Maybe we need a more of an objective thing.
Yes.
But we've got the poll beforehand. We'll do a poll afterwards. The suggestion that we go off of Pro Football Focus is so ridiculous.
So by the way, okay, all these emails, I want to respond to all these emails.
That is not an accurate, objective thing.
Yeah, I want to respond to all these people emailing me saying you should go based on the PFF grades because I've run it by Bo, but I don't know how to politely say, sorry, Bo doesn't want to do it, right?
No way.
So
first of all, we're going to treat every position the same, and then we're going to just trust their rubric. Give me a break. So we don't need to get started. Maybe I'll redo Bo Football Focus, and we can use that instead. Okay. In that case, give me. I think maybe the biggest delta here, Zach, that's left on the board is the nickel position, where. I listened to the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast and Fran and Greg Cosell, and Greg watches a little bit more of the Rams than Fran does, but they seem to agree that the best corner in that room is their nickelback Kobe Durant. And so I will take Kobe Durant. That means I don't have to play James Bradbury in the slot. I don't have to worry about Bradley Roby or Mario Goodrich being involved here, and I'm happy to solve that position.
Okay, so then I am going to go with Milton Williams just to make sure that I have a potent interior. Even maybe Fletcher Cox, he's on that cross-country plane, the epidural. Okay.
Yeah, that epidural.
I've never gotten an epidural, but I've been.
You've been a witness to one?
I've been witness to 2 epidurals in my life.
Okay.
And I can say, I can't say anecdotally, but I can say based on how it was described to me, there was very much a before and after with this epidural. So perhaps the epidural kicks in.
We both have work to do on the offensive line, but absent that, I'm going to go ahead and take the best linebacker in the game, which is a surprise to me that I'm doing that at this juncture. But I'm taking Ernest Jones. Big E, EJ, as some people call him. Give me Ernest Jones.
Okay. So I would like to go with a second edge rusher here. I don't really love Byron Young from Tennessee. Do I go Brandon Graham? Nolan Smith, Derek Barnett? Had a funny thing with Derek Barnett yesterday.
Okay, let's hear it.
By the way.
Your boy?
Yeah. So I always kind of, someone opens the door, I let them in before I walk out,
okay.
right?
From the locker room?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm walking out of the locker room. He's walking in. So he opens the door, and I say, "After you, Derek." Right. And he says, "No, you." And then it's like, "No, you."
You're dancing over it.
Yeah. There was and then the person behind Derek's like, "Someone's got to move here," right? So I said, "Thank you, Derek."
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But Derek and me are good, man.
He probably wanted you out more than he was being polite.
Probably so.
Yeah. Get out of the locker room.
Yes. Probably so. Yeah. Probably so. Do I go Brandon Graham? Brandon Graham really hasn't played that much this year, honestly.
I thought last week was his best game.
Okay.
You saw there were a couple rushes down the stretch, and even on the Terrell Edmonds dropped interception, that was a making of Brandon Graham's push. I thought he was a little bit more impactful.
So give me Brandon Graham then. You sold me. Brandon Graham it is. So now I got Hassan Reddick and Brandon Graham with Aaron Donald and Fletcher Cox and Milton Williams. So a lot of Pro Bowls on my pass rush here.
That's true. And at least 4 of those 5 will play in the game, most likely. We have a lot of work to do on the offensive line. I'm going to start picking that off with Steve Avila, the Rams starting left guard, who was their second-round pick. Solid start to his career so far. He's seen Aaron Donald in practice. It's not the same as seeing him in a game, but maybe that'll give us a little bit of an edge there.
And while you plan your next pick, I want everyone to kind of look over my shoulder here, okay? Because over my shoulder, we have some great stuff in this studio from FOCO. If actually you go and you look at some of the things that people are wearing to these games, if they're not wearing PHLY stuff, they might be wearing FOCO stuff. And where can you learn more about FOCO? Well, let me tell you that. because FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It's the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's tailgating season, so if you are going out to LA this weekend and you're going to be tailgating at SoFi Stadium, you might want overalls and hoodies and hats and sunglasses and bags, everything you need for a game, or if you're tailgating in the Phillies parking lot, and say hello to Bo as he goes to the games. FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY for 10% off.
It's your pick.
It is my pick.
You've got so far Jalen Hurts, Cooper Kupp, Dallas Goedert, Jordan Mailata, and Landon Dickerson on offense.
Okay. So do I go with Kevin Dotson? Give me another starting guard. You're not going to take a... Could you put Havenstein at left tackle?
I could.
You probably wouldn't. Do I go with this with another corner here? Do I... You know what I'm going to do? I need offensive playmakers. I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go Tutu Atwell, but I actually think that's a defensible pick there.
Okay. Thank you for agreeing it's a defensible pick.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
I've always liked Kyron Williams. He's, the advanced stats say he's below 0 in rushing yards over expected. I like him, but DeAndre Swift has been so impressive so far that since you have Cooper Kupp who might not play and nobody else on the outside, you're going to need somebody who can do something with the ball in their hands. I will take Sua Opeta.
Okay.
Give me my guy. I got Kelce, Opeta, and Lane Johnson. We're ready to go on that side of the ball. We're going to push you around.
By the way, I like how the biggest compliment you can pay to me in this game is that's a defensible pick. No, that's a good pick. That's a defensible pick.
Well, I mean that in the sense of it's a running back, right?
Okay.
Like I think that you have taken Swift a little bit too high in the past because of the position, but I think in this situation it made sense.
It made sense. Okay, fair enough. So then I will go with Rob Havenstein as my right tackle.
Big fella. Mm-hmm. All right, you didn't take this guy. You said you didn't like him, but I'm going to go ahead and take him. And I didn't like him coming into the draft because you're talking about the misnomer of Byron Young entering the league as a 25-year-old.
Yes.
He didn't really start playing football until it was like 22. He went to that, I think, the Georgia Military Institute. However, I got to trust the numbers at some point. And the sacks plus quarterback hits divided by pass rush snaps, guys who have played at least 100, who have rushed the passer at least 100 snaps this season. Number 1, Myles Garrett. Number 2, Josh Allen in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I like Josh Allen.
Number 3, TJ Watt. Number 4, Nick Bosa. Number 5, Micah Parsons. Number 6, Byron Young. That's the company that he is in through the first 4 games of his career. I don't think that is necessarily a sustainable pace for him, but at this juncture in the draft, I'm happy to get him, and I would have probably taken him over Brandon Graham.
Okay. So I'm going to go with Darian Kendrick at corner. Darian Kendrick is 50th of 109 corners on Pro Football Focus, so you know. By the way, your boy Kobe Durant's 107th of 109 on Pro Football Focus.
Yeah, I trust.
You trust the eye in the
Fran
sky.
and Greg much more than that.
So yeah, I'm going with Darian Kendrick, who went to Georgia. So I'm loading up on the Georgia guys right now. I think I
want to do.
Said, by the way, the other day that he went to Clemson. I don't know what I was thinking. He went to Georgia.
That's okay. I will take Joe Noteboom as my left tackle. Played left tackle for them last week, even though he's penciled in as their starting right guard. And now my offensive line is set.
Okay. So I don't need to take Kevin Dotson. I'm just going to end up with Kevin Dotson. What positions are still competitive?
You could take a second tight end if you wanted to box me out. You need a linebacker because I could take a linebacker, and then there's safety and corner.
Okay. So not going to push on safety right now. I need a slot.
In the interest
corner,
of time, I'm going to give you
already
Brian Allen and Kevin Dotson as your, unless you would rather have an Eagles backup there.
Well, no, their center's Coleman, right? Not Brian Allen.
Okay.
Their starting center is Coleman. So, unfortunately, I don't have Jason Kelce this week, but I do have Coleman Shelton.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with, you know what I'm going to do here? Let's go 12 personnel, baby.
Well, you're gonna box
Tyler
me out.
Higbee just got a contract extension. So give me Tyler Higbee and Dallas Goedert with Cooper Kupp.
It's not a bad, although
And
I don't
DeAndre
know that
Swift.
it's helping you in the run game necessarily
Yeah.
with Tyler Higbee, but it's at least something to do on offense
Yeah.
to lean into where you're weak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I will take a guy who I have no opinion on whatsoever, but is he a riser? Because I'm taking him over the Eagles' other options at safety. Give me Russ Yeast.
There you go.
To pair
Where did he go
with-
to college?
To pair with Reed Blankenship. Kansas State.
You remember that from the show the other day?
I do.
Okay. Good work. It means you're listening to me.
I'm always listening to you. I can't say the same about you.
You can't say the same about me. Okay. So you could go another linebacker, or I can go Nicholas Morrow, who became the first player the first linebacker since who in the NFL. This happened in 2007, I believe, to have 10 plus sacks, 3 plus tackles. 10 plus tackles, 3 plus sacks, and at least 1 forced fumble in a game.
Brian Roll.
No. Brian Roll.
I don't know the answer. I'm just saying a linebacker
Not with
would
the
be
Eagles.
funny.
In the NFL. The first linebacker since this player.
Ray Lewis.
No. James Harrison.
Okay.
Okay. How about that for Nicholas Morrow? So I could go with Nicholas Morrow because the other options would be Zach Cunningham, who I'm actually liking. He's, like you said the other day, they're getting good production from Zach Cunningham. Christian Roseboom is the other linebacker for the Rams from South Dakota State.
Yes.
But you know what? With the way Nicholas Morrow played last week, I need a green dot player in the middle of my defense. Give me Nicholas Morrow.
Okay. I'm happy for you. You took a player who didn't make the active roster as your starting linebacker.
You're so caught up in this active roster thing. 3 sacks.
I think the only...
Did you not see the 3 sacks?
Yeah, I saw him.
Okay.
Yeah, they were. It's not like he was like...
One of them, it was just a cleanup sack.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, he was a good blitzer. It's not like he's like beating these guys.
Oh, man. You have millions in this chat. Boy, is he a riser. So good, LOL. Travis Motter just said.
Yeah, I mean, that's
straight dough, yo. I mean, come on. You're just straight.
It's a repeat joke.
Bo already feels good about himself. You don't need to give him more rusty stuff.
You already have a flex, so I don't need to take a linebacker. I think the only thing that is up for grabs here is corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I will take... Do I take Josh Jobe or do I take Akella Witherspoon?
You remember what A.J. Brown... But A.J.'s on your team, so you don't have to worry about that. But A.J. Brown last week put Witherspoon in a knot. Last season,
year,
rather.
again, yes, in that Steelers game.
Yep.
And I guess because of that, I'm going to take Josh Jobe.
Okay. So I'm going to lean into my aging defense here, and I'm going to take Bradley Roby as my slot corner.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Another guy who might
Sight
not.
unseen.
Yes.
Yeah, who might not play.
Yeah.
All right, so we can fill out the rest of this now. I will take Kyron Williams as my running back over Kenny Gainwell. I will take Jack Stoll as my tight end. I will take, and my last pick, do I take a second linebacker or do I take a Kobe Turner from Wake Forest, who has been an impressive player so far? Or I could take Nolan Smith. I'm going to go ahead and I think for the very first time in show history, I'm going to have 2 linebackers. So I'm going to take Zach Cunningham. You need a wide receiver, Zach?
I need 1 wide receiver, and I'm going to
And
go
a
Tutu
safety.
Atwell.
Yep.
Who I like a Tutu.
I bet you do.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you need a safety. You want Justin Evans or Sidney Brown?
Sidney Brown.
Sidney Brown, another guy who might not play. Wow. You're really leaning into that. Might as well take like Reggie White.
It will look good after. All I'm going for is the initial poll voting, right?
All right, so when you have the ball, Jalen Hurts, DeAndre Swift, Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell, Dallas Goedert, Tyler Higbee, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Coleman Shelton, Kevin Dotson, and Rob Havenstein going up against my defense of Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Byron Young, Ernest Jones, Zach Cunningham, James Bradbury, Josh Jobe, and Kobe Durant with Russ Yeast and Reed Blankenship at safety. When I have the ball, Matthew Stafford with Kyron Williams next to him is throwing to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Puka Nacua. with Jack Stoll protecting, Joe Noteboom, Steve Avila, Jason Kelce, Sua Opeta, and Lane Johnson up front against your defense of Brandon Graham, Aaron Donald, Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick, Nicholas Morrow, Darius Slay, Darian Kendrick, Bradley Roby, Jordan Fuller, and Sidney Brown, with Milton Williams rotating in on the defensive line. I think I've won again.
I like your team going into this game, but I do want to point out that I have the best defensive player of the past decade on my team.
Sure.
Okay. So let's give Aaron Donald due credit here.
Yeah, due credit. And you're pairing him with another, probably the second best defensive tackle of the past decade. Unfortunately, the game will be played on Sunday and not 7 years ago.
I think Aaron Donald's still good, by the way. Yeah.
All right. Anything else that we need to pay attention to before we talk tomorrow at 2:30, Zach?
One thing, a gratuitous kind of plug, if you will. Go to allphly.com right now. I took one from Bo Wulf's playbook here, which is a locker room survey.
Okay.
And I asked players, because I've been hearing now for 7 years basically, that how good of an athlete Jake Elliott is. And Jake Elliott, of course, was a tennis player who, like I mentioned on the other day's show, came out during a pep rally, was picked out of a pep rally, kicked a field goal. That's how he started his kicking career. So I wanted to know from different players in the locker room, the question I posed is, what's the most impressive non-football thing you've seen Jake Elliott do? And I got a lot of answers about golf and ping pong. Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson were sitting next to each other going back and forth. He shot 64 at Riverwinds. Okay. He went under par at Marion, which I'm not a golfer, but I understand that's quite an accomplishment. Some people have pointed out that he's really adept at hitting the crossbar when he throws it. Oh, thank you, Bree. There you go. So you can check that out now on allphly.com. It's free for y'all to read, for all of you to read. So that will give you a little insight from the locker room on. I heard Jason Kelce use the name yesterday on WIP. I haven't heard this. Jake the Make. I kind of like that. Jake the Make. I like that.
That's not bad. As opposed to Jake the Snake.
As opposed to Jake the Snake. But as far as some other things we should monitor outside of the gratuitous plugs, they have practice in about an hour, and we will see if Sidney Brown the guys who missed yesterday. We'll see who's back, who's not back. I'm curious if Marlon T is back or not, just because if Fletcher Cox isn't playing, your defensive tackle depth is obviously important to monitor there. What's Sidney Brown's workload? We will pay attention to that. And then, we'll be back tomorrow's show, an action-packed show. I'm excited for our potential guest tomorrow.
Hoping to have Jordan Rodriguez from The Athletic on the show tomorrow to give us a little bit of insight onto this Rams team that I think is a little bit better than some people expected heading into the year. And, of course, we will play a little rousing game of Goose Wisely, make our predictions as you get prepared for the long flight. What are you going to do on the flight, Zach?
I have some writing to do right now.
Okay.
So
it sure feels like you've always got some writing to do.
Yeah, well, I'm working against a deadline on something that, and it's a 6-hour flight, so I'll be working on that. But it's a late night Saturday night flight, and you know how I am late at night, so
true.
I might drift off, and then that's probably how I will spend the flight. I'm not in LA very long. I'm just in and out. So, but always, I look forward to going back potentially when the Eagles play there again.
And finally, since we started the show with this, we need to sort of close the loop. How did you feel about T-shirt day?
A little cold, honestly.
Okay.
I think
You're not showing it.
Thank you. Thank you, Bo. I think you'll see me more in the hoodies, the button-downs, the PHLY hoodies. But, I'm always
I think
trying
you wore
to...
it well. I always like to see you relax a little bit, loosen up.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that, man. You sound like my wife right now. She wants me to relax, loosen up. So
I agree with her. Yeah. Maybe for her next birthday, you'll give her that treat.
41. She's been telling me every year, Bo and I have this joke. I mean, it's been like 3 years in a row. Or 2 years in a row, actually, if I'm being literal. Emily's, she wants my New Year's resolution to be kinder to myself.
Yes.
And
I try to, on her behalf, get you to do that.
Yeah. And then we're at like January 3rd, and I'm pulling my hair out about a story,
Right.
or I text you at 4 a.m. or not. I'm not up at 4 a.m. At 5:30. Oh, so and so wrote this piece. So yeah, it lasts about 3 days. It's like the joke that
What's
people get
so-and-so
gym
ever done?
memberships. For me, it's like I'm kind to myself when I watch the New Year's Day games, and then I feel like I'm falling behind. Yeah,
Yeah, well, tough life.
not at all.
All
Not at
right.
all.
Well, for Zach and Bree and everybody else, we thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the ramp up before the Phillies and Braves get going over the next couple of days. We'll be back tomorrow at 2:30 to give our final preview of the Week 5 tilt between the Eagles and the Rams. We thank you for listening. We thank you for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.